Closed caption. Ministerio TIC.
Hola, muy buenas noches. Bienvenidos a Teleislas News Weekend, su fuente de información los fines de semana. Iniciamos nuestra emisión con una pregunta. ¿Creen ustedes que vale la pena el uso, establecer una hora y días para el uso de autoparlantes o pick-ups? Pues les cuento que esta es una polémica vigente en nuestro departamento y las autoridades han anunciado que cuentan con la opinión de la comunidad que ha manifestado su preocupación por esta contaminación acústica.
De nuestro
Contar con playas que cuenten con los estándares de calidad es uno de los objetivos principales de nuestro gobierno y es por eso que ellos han anunciado el autocuidado también y la adecuación de baños públicos en las playas de Sprat Bight. Esto con el fin de dar a los visitantes y residentes una mejor experiencia en cuanto a nuestras playas.
Las playas de las playas de conexión.
Momento de una breve pausa de comerciales y ya regresamos con más Teleislas News Weekend. Mientras tanto, ustedes sigan conectados.
Rene Jose Humphrey Stevens was a Rizal born in San Andres Island, Colombia on July 22, 1935. He became a world-famous musical sensation. Moved by his Caribbean influences, Rene found his passion for music. He studied music theory, harmony and orchestration, organ and piano, becoming the leader of the renewed Rene Grand and his Gumbo New York. His group performed in the best nightclubs of New York, alongside big names like La Sonora Matancera, El Gran Combo, Charlie and Eddie Palmieri, Tito Puente, Joe Cuba, and Primitivo Santos, and many others. His hits record like Cool, Go Go Mambo, and Sigue la Gente are still relevant today. A young man from a small island conquered the competitive music scene with his relentless talent and persistence. Rene passed away on April 21st, 2010. He was a leader and he is a Rizal legend.
We want to invite all the people to live this wonderful experience every Sunday morning, 7:30, the Holy Mass so all of you can live the experience of the Holy Mass Sunday after Sunday. We will be waiting on you.
Somos identidad. Somos un espacio de participación ciudadana. Somos unión entre la televisión pública y la comunidad. Somos el canal donde tu voz es escuchada.
Tu voz cuenta. El defensor del televidente está para construir una televisión pública más responsable y más transparente.
Ministerio TIC.
Dele. Gesto de Neymar.
El traje nos protege de alguna forma para que no llegue a afectarnos demasiado. Por dentro tiene un látex con el que anteriormente se sacaba para hacer colbón.
Yo no sabía que en San Andrés había una planta con la que se podía hacer colbón.
Recuerden, siempre curiosos, porque la curiosidad es la fuente del aprendizaje.
En estas islas, donde el mar guarda nuestras historias, nacen los verdaderos íconos. 15 protagonistas que revelan lo que somos y lo que seguimos construyendo. No te pierdas estas 15 historias. Solo en nuestros íconos.
Ministerio TIC.
Dele. Gesto de Neymar.
El traje nos protege de alguna forma para que no llegue a afectarnos demasiado. Por dentro tiene un látex con el que anteriormente se sacaba para hacer colbón.
Yo no sabía que en San Andrés había una planta con la que se podía hacer colbón.
Recuerden, siempre curiosos, porque la curiosidad es la fuente del aprendizaje.
The island of Old Providence in Colombia is the second largest island in the archipelago of San Andres, Old Providence, and St. Catalina. With 17 square kilometers, this territory stands out for its great natural wealth. With an extension of 995 hectares, of which 905 are marine area, the Old Providence McBean Lagoon National Natural Park comprises one of the protected natural areas of the island, composed of mangrove areas. The Three Brothers and Crab Keys become ideal attractions for ecotourism activities. The white sand beaches, crystalline waters, and exquisite gastronomy make Old Providence a dream destination. The Lover's Bridge is the most emblematic structure of the islands, linking Old Providence and St. Catalina. Renovated and inaugurated in 2022, this work represents a bond of integration and brotherhood in the island territory. Located in St. Catalina is Morgan's Head, a gigantic rock that resembles a human profile. This rock formation is named in honor of the pirate Henry Morgan, who used to visit the islands. Fort Warwick is a vestige of military defense installed in St. Catalina. This tourist site has an enormous historical value since it preserves the cannons used by colonizers. It is an ideal place to immerse yourself in history and get a look into the past. Protect Seaflower.
The First Baptist Church, located in the section of Mission Hill, is also known as the Mother Church, founded in 1844 by Reverend Philip Beekman Livingston. The story goes that its origins were under the shade of a tamarack tree, where the founder taught enslaved people who spoke English to read the Bible. A curious fact is that if you visit this emblematic place, you can still find this majestic tamarack tree, that has been there for more than a century, despite the different hurricanes and winds that have passed through our beautiful paradise. Our First Baptist Church resembles the style of great religious buildings found in different Caribbean islands. This building was used as a temple in Alabama, United States in the 19th century. The white walls were disassembled, transported, and rebuilt piece by piece at Mission Hill in our beautiful island. Local legend claims that before its construction, this strategic place, 120 meters above sea level, was used by the pirate Henry Morgan to monitor the ships and galleons that sailed the Caribbean. Currently, the church is also used as a tourist attraction, where visitors and residents can appreciate one of the best views of the island, the Sea of the Seven Colors, and if you're lucky, you can also see the mountains of our sister island, Providence. If you're passing through or reside in this beautiful archipelago, we invite you to visit this pillar of the Rizal community. More than a place of congregation, a cultural and ancestral heritage of our island.
En el Caribe Occidental existe un tesoro de importancia mundial. La Reserva de Biosfera Seaflower San Andrés, Providencia y Santa Catalina. Reconocida por la UNESCO en el 2000 por su valor universal excepcional. Nuestra reserva tiene la tercera barrera de corales del mundo, donde conviven 57 especies de coral. Un refugio natural que alberga 407 especies de peces y 48 especies endémicas. Santuario de 157 especies de aves, esenciales para ecosistemas terrestres y marinos. Refugio vital para 4 especies de tortugas marinas en peligro de extinción. Pero Seaflower no solo es naturaleza, es también cuna de la cultura raizal. Una herencia viva de más de 3 siglos, donde las tradiciones, la música y la gastronomía reflejan la esencia de este paraíso caribeño. Seaflower es un legado compartido, por eso debemos ser ejemplo de convivencia armoniosa entre nosotros y la naturaleza. Protejámoslo para que continúe inspirando y siendo fuente de vida y cultura para las generaciones que vienen.
Ellas te acompaña para identificar cuando estás siendo víctima de violencia. Cuenta con la ubicación actualizada de las entidades que te deben atender en caso de que seas víctima de violencias. Descarga la app en Google Play o App Store y conoce las rutas. Todas libres, todas con ellas.
La extracción del jugo de caña es una expresión directamente ligada a nuestras raíces raizales. Un proceso en comunidad y una tradición que ha sido pasada de una generación a otra y que aún se lleva a cabo. Esta labor data sus inicios desde los siglos XVII y XVIII, cuando transportaban a personas en condición de esclavitud de África a las islas del Caribe para trabajar en las plantaciones de azúcar. Para la extracción se empieza con el sembrado de la caña de azúcar, que se lleva a cabo en junio, julio y agosto, durante la época de lluvia. Entre los meses de marzo y abril es la temporada de cosecha. Para la extracción del jugo de caña se utiliza un molino, con la ayuda de un caballo y las personas que cortan y seleccionan la caña. La caña se inserta en el molino, el cual exprime el jugo, también conocido como guarapo y en criol, lica. Esta se cuela, se agrega hielo y ya queda lista para el consumo. Una bebida refrescante que no queda mal en el clima tropical de nuestra isla. Nada es desperdiciado en este proceso. ya que los residuos son utilizados después como abono para la tierra en preparación de los nuevos cultivos de caña. Con el jugo de la caña, la comunidad raizal hace diferentes tipos de dulces típicos autóctonos de la isla, como el syrup, coconut cake, stew papaya, stew plum, stew jumbalín, entre otros. Alrededor de la isla hay diferentes puntos específicos donde se realiza esta labor, como el Barak con Eloy Corpus, Zone Bay con Mr. Denny, Orange Hill con Rosmira Baldonado, entre otros. La invitación es no dejar perder esta tradición y en la temporada de Key Grinding, visita los diferentes puntos de la isla y deleítate con esta deliciosa bebida.
The beat of the drum is a shout of freedom. And the spirit of the drum remain always in the African descendant, African children them. We here in San Andres, we have a lot of African descendants. When the drum sound, when the sound of the drum hit, it busts through spiritual, physical, and mental, and wipe away all negative concepts and expression and imagination. Because the beat of the drum represents such a spiritual and physical movement in African people that it become a language.
The drum was not included in the religious services initially in the islands because what we received was a Eurocentric form of Christianity. The first leaders that moved and began to share Christianity with the people, farmer slaves, they were descendants of the same European, and they traveled to the United States and other part and brought a Eurocentric type of Christianity. So that's what we received. In the religious worship services in Europe, there was a particular framework that they used. So the African drum, or any drum at all, would be considered something to be evil or something that would not fit into the context of proper worship. So the Negro or the blacks that were in this territory, they were making the drums out of cedar tree, but it was never accepted into the church, so it was kept out apart.
In those days, one time the slave master them used to hear the slave them beating the drum, them used to get frightened because they don't know what I mean, but they know it's something.
The drum wasn't included in Acadian music. The first set of people come here with the slaves and take away the drum from away. So forget it. And then afterward now, we get back to start plays again through Banana Group and myself. So the drum included in the Acadian music now.
Bueno, desde pequeño, cuando incursionamos en la música tradicional de San Andrés Islas, nos enseñaron dentro de sus raíces más que todo la parte armónica con la mandolina, la guitarra, el violín, y no son en su medida representativos de la cultura africana cuando hablamos de música africana hacia el tambor, los tambores. Ya a medida que ha evolucionado la música y que ha pasado el tiempo, pues se vio la necesidad de implementar instrumentos ya con más raíz africana dentro del concepto típico de la música tradicional.
The drum wasn't part of our racial tradition because our tradition is a mixture of English and African, but remember, say the African come through slavery. So this never be part of our culture until plenty of our people start to travel to Panama, and they start to see this cake drum. In the 1900s, they used to accompany the guitar, the fiddle, and the violin here in San Andres with this cake drum. It was a little drum you put under your arm and you play it like a little tick-tack-tack-tack, tick-tack-tack, you know. This is the only, more or less, drum we know about from the 1900s. Until it come up to now the emancipation days, that now we started to bring back this African celebration, things like using the African drums them to bring back that spirit.
Well, the drum now is finding acceptance in the worship services, no contemporary worship services in most of the churches. It has been a very rough process. It's been very difficult, where, you know, the elders still feel like the drum, some of them might still feel is the devil's instrument, you know, and you bring in the devil into the church because these sounds they're very aggressive sounds, they're very pushy sounds, and they're very in your face. That's what the drum does. And for them, what they conceive as worship, again, Eurocentric, is more of, you know, peace and quiet, and don't make too much noise in the head of God because God is a quiet God, and, you know, and things like that. But that's not really worship. But anyway. The drum is coming in, and the young people are now feeling the drum. They are now, you know, wanting the drum. And so you have young adults that are wanting the drum. You have young people wanting the drum. The children want the drum. And so some of the older folks are just saying, well, you know, we're on our way out. And so if that will keep them into the worship, then just allow it to continue.
Beating of the drumming for me is like a heartbeat that each person have inside, you know. We as African descendants, we have like a drum beat in each one of us, you know. So when you hear a little rhythm, you start move your foot, you start move your hand, you start move some part of your body. Each person from this island, as of our custom and heritage, we have like that little music in a beat in each one of us, you know. The academy it was just a dream. The passion, the necessity, and looking on the fruit that I reap in the past, I say, hey, I have to start something in at this stage. You know, you have a generation who might be not have the chance to take a drumming class or you know, something like that. So based on the trees, and then trees find that why I decided like to start the magnet drum and percussion academy.
the spirit of these drums still there in these young guys that are coming up nowadays. So when they meet like the 20 de Julio and the St. August, and they have the opportunity to face in the drum, then we start to see again the spirit of the African, the spirit of the African come back out again in them. We have to realize that the majority of the beating around here in the America start from what we call a banda de guerra, a banda de guerra. You know, even though it's a banda de paz, they call it banda de paz because it's transformed. It's not a matter of fighting again. It's a matter. It's like a free thing from the spirit. It's the spirit of the African that reborn in these African descendant children.
I don't want the youth and all the people, all of us, to remember say our blood, our ancestors is from Africa. So we have to keep on beating the drum and keep on talk our language.
This is my culture and me the Teleislas. This is my culture and me the Teleislas.
Hola, soy Irma Bermúdez Davis, gerente del Centro Cultural del Banco de la República aquí en San Andrés. Bueno, estoy aquí dentro del Centro Cultural del Banco de la República hace 8 años, cumpliendo uno de mis sueños, que es apoyar a la comunidad en la preservación del patrimonio. Hay 3 logros importantes que creo que ha sido valioso con el apoyo de la comunidad. No puedo decir que únicamente mío. La comunidad ha venido a contribuir en esto y ha sido primero el poder posicionar la lengua creol, ponerla en el escenario y poder crear espacios en donde la comunidad pueda hablar en creol, pueda darle importancia, podamos reconocer cuáles son esas investigaciones, esos resultados de trabajo que se han hecho en creol. Y también otro de los trabajos importantes es permitir que la comunidad pueda ser el actor principal de su historia, de poder contarlas, de poder narrar cuál es su percepción acerca de lo que es importante o no. En ese sentido, no es el teórico viniendo acá a la isla a contar